Hey folks, Adewale here, and happy to get back to making some closest copy videos. So this video I'm going to be showing you how to create a training video script. This is not going to be a small short script. I'm going to be covering that later on, and I've actually covered some videos on how to write 15-second video scripts. You can check out for that. But this is more creating a proper training material. So let's say you've got a course and you want to create a module of your course. This video is going to be showing you step by step how to create a framework that will help you create all the different sections that are essential for building a course out. It's a kind of course you can put in a membership area or actually sell as a whole product on its own. Right? So we're going to be creating every aspect of it. I'm going to be walking you through how I will think when trying to build the frameworks to achieve the different sections. This is not a quick video, so anybody looking for quick videos, you can look for my other videos for quick tips. But this is for anybody who really wants to be serious about the way they use closest copy for real business. Now, whenever I'm coming to the point of creating a framework for closest copy, I like to make sure that I've got good models I'm following. Why start from fresh when there's something that's already working? So I've followed different authors and tutors around how to create good learning products, and there are different processes that can work very well to grab attention, instruct people as to why what you're going to tell them is important and necessary for them, so that they are all ears by the time they get into your video properly, and then give them information in a way that feels new, and then finish it off with a good conclusion, right? So all of the other videos will follow some format that's similar to this. So those are kind of things I'm thinking about as I'm creating these video scripts, right? So the different sections are the introduction area, and in introduction we'll have the why we must learn this. So why it's important to learn the subject that you're teaching. Let's give a person a very important reason to watch your training video and a summary of what you'll cover. So if you are making video training videos for YouTube, what's going to be covered in this area will be extremely important to increase your watch time. Cool. Right. So we're going to be doing the introduction framework, the why part of this framework now. So one of the things I've found with closest copy is that if you are creating a framework, and the framework needs to be written in a way that helps the AI know exactly what you are wanting, or the kind of pattern you're wanting. Sometimes if you ask the AI a question and it produces an answer for you by itself, and if that fits your objective or what you're trying to achieve with that particular framework you're creating, you'll notice that the results you get from the AI is a lot smoother. That's because the AI is the one who gave you the answers that you're putting in the frameworks, so it understands straight off what you're asking for, so the frameworks are more effective. Now, when you don't have any examples you can come up with of hand, you either ask the AI for context, for content to put in the examples, or you can get examples from the program or course that you attended, where they provided the types of examples that fit in each section of the framework. Okay, so this we are looking for why learn this type context. So this could be a blog that you know is very useful, where they're talking about why it's important to read the rest of the article. Okay, so as an example, I love the way Miles Beckler gives his whys. They're often quite good. So I can copy out of this video. And for those of you who don't know, you could actually just go to show transcripts. YouTube will give you a transcript. You can just look at the section where he explains the why it's important to watch the rest of this video. Just should play quickly. So
this is highly valuable information.
You can already say
what you're about to learn is exactly what I used on this.
Here he's talking about why it's important to watch this video and how it's highly valuable. So we want to just take those sections, right? I would usually then go into something like timestamps remover just to remove all the numbers and dates, because that can be quite exhausting to go through, right? So it's done that for me. So here we've got a very nice why. I'm going to trim this because I don't want my why to be that long. So as you see, with this particular framework, I want to actually create it in such a way that you could just read through the whole training video, just read it out, and it gives people the content you want. But you could also just do bullet points like I'll be showing in another video or later in this video. Okay, and taking the time to edit this, because you can bet it that if you put in an unedited content, ClosesScope is going to give you unedited content as well. So it's best to edit it so it reads well from the get-go. So the ideas you get or the results you get will be more effective for you and take less work to edit. And the thing I like about this particular example is it feels burning, it feels urgent, it feels like you have to just do this now, especially if this is the field you're interested in, right? So to help the AI know what to talk about in this section, we have to have a topic. So this is topic here is online business development. That helps the AI know that, okay, if I see if I see a topic and a blurb that links to that topic, I should look for another topic and then give the blurb that links to that topic. There's a body of the why section of the intro. So now I've got a very good first example. I can actually use the AI to generate my second and third example so that the AI is given something that's more meaningful. Like I said earlier on, when you use the AI to create the examples, the frameworks tend to come up with more relevant stuff. So I'm going to create a new framework called training videos. And this is the introduction why. Now I'm thinking of what to do for the second example. Now, to make this more of a generic type framework, sometimes I like to combine examples from different niches. This way, the framework doesn't stick to just giving me something from just one niche all the time. So an example would be, I could take something that's from online business. I could take something from the weight loss. Okay, so I use that as a second example and see if it comes up with something that's useful. If it does, we may come up with a third one, or we could just carry on from there. Okay, so it's coming up with some ideas, but not quite right yet, because it's a bit too wordy and all over the place at the first. But just the first example. But I can take concepts for my own idea from these ideas, and because I'm taking it from the AI, the final outcome for the second example makes sense to the AI. So for those of you who don't realize what I just did there, this is me feeding the AI to give it a sense of direction of where to go with this result. So I want to take hi there. I don't want to use 90-day challenge, because if I do that, all of a sudden every other thing it gives you will be around 90-day challenge. Just do something else. So hi there, welcome to. So because I'm trying to get a wide type of content here, I'm using now this is valuable. Just trying to stick into some of his ideas here. Oh, you see, one of the problems I'm coming into now is that because the blurb is quite a lot, at the moment the AI is not quite certain what the direction is. So it's just going all over the place. It's giving me related content, but not related to answering the question as to why things are important, why it's important to follow through the rest of this video. So a workaround could be that when you are creating your first example, you could actually create sections in the first example, making the AI know, okay, that's what this is, that's what this is, that's what it is. I was trying to boycott that so that I don't have to blend the sections in again later. I'll see if I can do this. If it works by the second example, then we'll not create sections. Otherwise, we would need to create some section to make the AI deliver on the responses a lot better. Okay, so now what I'm doing now is I'm testing the framework. I'm trying to create at least one more example, but as I'm doing that, I'm also testing the framework to see whether it's starting to produce good content. I know this particular topic is not too clear, but sometimes that just helps you to know how good your AI is at figuring out what you're trying to talk about. Alright, so this sounds like what I'm looking for. So hi there, in this video training, we'll be looking at how to reawaken your inner child and get excited about things again. To get excited about life again when you feel like you want to rediscover a sense of wonder. Okay, so what I've done there now is to create an example from my program that I'm trying to build training videos for. And I've used the title, taken a title from some of the bullet points that I had written down, and used that as part of the topic to help the AI then come up with a why that I'm going to be using for the video training itself, right? So I still had to do a little bit of stitching there, and I find that it's something that you might have to do a lot of anyway, even if the AI is producing good content. But let's just do one more test and see how good the AI now is at producing a nice why intro for video training. So this looks like it's working. So this is the example that's come up with. So hi there, in this training video. So in this video training, we'll be looking at how to develop a can-do attitude to help you succeed in life. Now, we all know that having the right mindset can make all the difference in our lives and can be a major factor in our success. There are certain beliefs we hold. There are certain beliefs which we hold that stop us from achieving goals and also lead to poor decisions. These thoughts include believing we're too young, not smart enough, too old, not talented enough, and many more, right? This is a perfect intro for a video on developing a can-do attitude. So that framework is working. I can move on to the next one. Okay, so we've created the why section of this introduction, following that format, and this is pretty much the same format we'll be following for everyone, but I'm going to go through each step just for those who would like to see how it works for other types of sections. Okay, but I'm keeping this because I actually like this one. So that's taking us to the end of the introduction, showing you how you create the introduction. And I've gone into depth of how to create the introduction. So now we'll go into the summary of what we'll cover. Again, we want to find content that delivers summary on a training. What's the key to a good summary? It's got to be what the people want, and it's got to create curiosity. Because if they are, your summary doesn't make people more curious, they definitely won't then want to watch anymore. So let's look for some good summaries. So a good guide to get that idea of a summary from is Russell Brunson. I like the way he summarizes the content he's going to teach before he goes ahead and teaches it. So we could take some ideas from that to fill our example of a summary, our first example of a summary. So in the summary, you're almost providing like a table of content. So I'm using his perfect webinar summary. So this can be the first example. I want the topic to be a bit more meaningful to the AI, just in case the AI doesn't know what the perfect webinar is. I mean, the perfect webinar is a webinar format that Russell uses to create webinars. So I'll just write how to create perfect webinars. Okay. And that we have our first example. So literally what this is also doing is creating a bullet points. It's like your outline as well. Okay. Again, we're following the same process, getting the first example and then using the AI to create the next two examples, just so that the AI understands the format very well by the time you finish the third example. So since this is our first feed, I'm trying to guide the AI as to where to go next by putting in the step 1, just following the format of the example. Again, because it's the first one, you can see it's using some perfect webinar ideas in here, so just mixing things up a little bit. What will people want to know around intermittent fasting? Now, this point is crucial. What you feed the AI examples will determine how well and how useful the content is. So here I'm trying to think about, if I was to really teach intermittent fasting, what would be information I can include in this summary that will be interesting and curiosity inducing? So really we're thinking in terms of bullet points, and bullet points that are interesting. I already have some bullet points framework in Closest Copy. So I'm just going to use those ones to create this set of bullet points. I want the straight benefit bullets. I'm going to use the same title, how to lose weight using intermittent fasting, and that should give me some nice bullet points that I can include as a summary. How to fast without experiencing hunger pains, because the person is trying to learn how to fast, and to do that without experiencing hunger pains seems wrong. It seems impossible, and that creates curiosity, especially because they don't want to have hunger pains. So this gives them the secret way to fast. Let's just look the secret. Okay. I'm not sure I like the idea of steps, because the steps is making the AI think this is steps to follow. So it's giving you steps rather than a summary of a content. So I might change the example a bit. I'm going to change the example to point. So steps. Point 1, point 2. So the AI is not thinking stepwise and skewing the results always to step points instead of. So another example of where you can get, another place where you can get example for content for your examples is in Google. So if I type that in Google, Google will give me some snippets. Really, what I'm trying to do here is make sure that my examples are exciting and interesting enough so that when, and whilst the content that I'm interested in has nothing to do with intermittent fasting, I want things to be such that when I'm creating my own content, the AI is able to come up with interesting points for the summaries by itself, which also helps me in the product creation as well. That is sparking my ideas, giving me a sense of direction of where to go to as well. But so in essence, it's achieving two things: helping you to come up with something that will make your customer curious, but also helping me to come up with stuff that will give me a sense of direction to where the video training is going. And so really the idea here is we're using the AI as an assistant to helping us to produce. So we don't have to spend time thinking of what we want to produce. We can come straight to the AI and with a blank slate, and from the AI, we're able to come up with our ideas. And if you notice what I'm doing as well here, as we are gathering examples, we're making sure we're sticking to examples that are using language that are common to the niche. That way the AI respects the niche that you are trying to write in, create the video training material for, as it's giving you examples. Why is that important? The people in that niche know what the language should sound like subconsciously, even if they are not aware they know. So if you are talking about intermittent fasting and you're not mentioning certain things, they just won't believe you. And so the AI is you're feeding examples in that niche. So the AI also knows that it's going to do your examples, whatever it gives you, the outcome it gives you, is going to be following the niche as well. So now I'm moving to the teaching chunks of this video training. And we're looking at things like who, what, where, why, how, and how much. I often don't include who, but you may want to include who in terms of who will find this useful, or who can you benefit from when trying to learn about this subject or this topic. So that could be something that you might find useful to put into the training material. But I'll leave that out. I won't work on who here. So looking at how, what to do, where to do it, why. We've looked at why already. But what we might find is that each section of each topic you're touching on, or subtopic you're touching on, you may still need to kind of give a why. So it's almost like you've given a why for the main idea of the whole training, but then why must they be interested in learning to wander again? That could be this subtopic you're touching, or why must they be interested in learning to choose the correct diet whilst doing intermittent fasting? So you must be given a why for each section. So what in terms of what they are going to do. In some situations, you may need a where to do those things. So for example, if you are teaching a specific type of exercise, they may not be able to do the exercise unless they are in a garden, for example. So we're going to be looking for content that matches each of these types of elements. And all you just do for your training is to choose and pick what fits with what you're trying to tell people. Okay. So for these kind of frameworks, the what types or where types or why types of frameworks, I find that it's helpful to have a topic, a subtopic, and then the content. The topic gives the AI the main theme of what we're talking about. The subtopic is giving the AI that aspect of that topic that you are actually targeting, and then that helps you come up with a body related to the subtopic. So let's start with a what. In terms of what here, we're looking at what to do. So we're going to have topic, subtopic, and body. And since we've already created subtopics in the summary section, we can grab our subtopic from there. So the first subtopic is grabbing attention. Because we're looking for what to do, maybe to help the AI, let's say what steps to follow. And so we'll just go through the same process. You use one of the different ways of getting to your examples to build your examples. So you can use Google search, you can use a program that you've been to, an author that you know and trust. You can use your old frameworks that's working. So I've got some nice how-to frameworks, which I'm going to use for this one. One way to come up with the body, to start coming up with the body of a what to do section is, first of all, you can use a framework to actually ask questions around the subtopic that is being touched. And in this case, the subtopic here for this example is how to grab attention and quickly build rapport in a webinar. So what will be a very good thing to start this body with? So I'm using a framework which you all have access to. It's the Ask Me Any Question framework. I'm going to use it to fill in the bits and pieces for this body. And as I was doing this, I used the whole title here in the subtopic, but I noticed a problem, which is something you have to be aware of as you're trying to, if you're going to use this Ask Me Any Question framework. This is really asking two questions, and that might confuse the AI a little bit. So it's asking, how do I grab attention and quickly build rapport with an audience? To get a better result, I will separate those questions. So I'll ask, how do I grab attention when speaking to an audience? And then ask again, how do I quickly build rapport with the audience? So I like some of these ideas here. This is giving one way to grab attention would be to use a powerful visual image. So remember that this section here is the what to do section, and we're just describing what to do. It was going to be important to put a little section at the top of the what to do section, which is given a little bit of a why. Why is this step important? And then we'll go through the steps of what you're actually doing. Okay, so with this answer here, I have here. So you can start with a curiosity-inducing question. This will create a gap in your audience's mind, giving them a desire to learn more about your topic. If your audience is made up of business owners who want to develop an online presence, a good example of a curiosity-inducing question for them is, how do I create an online presence for my business? So somebody who wants to create that online presence is hooked to see what answer you're going to give. So you could say, so how do you go about creating an online presence for your business? Then they want to hear the answer. Okay. So you see what I've done here? I'm trying to give an example for the AI of how to word or how to frame the what to do part of your presentation. So what to do usually will be why we want to do this and the steps to take to do it. So we've gotten sort of the steps to take to do it now, and then we'll come up with the why to do it later. You don't have to follow that specific order. It's just how things have panned out as I'm preparing this. So what I'm trying to do really is come up with a specific practical action point. Tells them what they're going to do and give them examples of how to do it. And that kind of is sufficient for the what to do aspect of a presentation. So I've got 3 steps of things people can do to grab attention. It's part of the body. But then we need a why is this important? Why is it important to grab attention? So really, in order to answer the other portion of the question, which is build rapport, I've just added that into the question and taken some of that and filled in my steps. All right, why is it important to build rapport, to grab an audience's attention before presenting? That's the question we want to ask now. And there are different ways of going about asking the question why. You could just ask the question why and give people the reason why, or you could tell a story of someone who tried to give a presentation without grabbing rapport and how everybody just looked bored and disinterested. So that's naturally given us the sections of this what to do framework. And the what to do framework has got the topic, the subtopic, why that subtopic is important, and the steps to take to achieve that subtopic. So as usual, what I'm doing now is I've created 2 frameworks for the what to do, and I'm not testing using the subtitles in the course and program that I'm trying to create. It's giving me some wonderful whys for the subtopics. And I like some of the steps, and the way these steps are created, it looks like I might actually be able to create steps that I can use in the video and steps that I can ask people to just check out for more steps they can follow to just make the process of re-triggering or being able to rediscover their sense of wonder in life again. So I believe the work we've done already has answered the question of how and what. So what to do and or how to do it, we've sort of dealt with already. The remaining and why as well, I believe. Yes, we've done why and what to do and how to do it and how much using the frameworks we've created so far. But what I like to then include in my teaching is using analogies, metaphor, just to add some color and meaning. So analogies, metaphors, and stories. The stories, you could also add parables, because when you're trying to get a point across or help people change their beliefs about something, stories and parables are very powerful. And also when just kind of engage and create interest, analogies and metaphors can be very powerful also to help people understand complex things. So we could say something like, if I'm trying to teach people what a pomelo is, anybody who has read the book Made to Stick will know that example. If I say a pomelo is like a big grapefruit, all of a sudden anybody who doesn't know what a pomelo is knows what a pomelo should look like. So analogies or metaphors can be very powerful to help you in the teaching, in your training. Okay, so how do we create analogies and metaphors? As with everything else with the frameworks, is find examples of analogies and metaphors that fit with what you're trying to create and use those examples in your framework to come up with what you want. So in this case, I want an analogy to teach something. So to use one of the, let's use break and build their false belief patterns. Okay, so this is the subheadline, and we want to teach some things around this. I could say, oh, I want to create an analogy for false belief patterns. How do I go about doing that? I could go to Google again, look for analogies, examples of analogies, and copy those. But guess what? We've got in the community a set of frameworks for analogies and metaphors, which do a very good job of giving metaphors and analogies. So false belief patterns, give me an analogy around false belief patterns. So as false belief patterns, in particular the belief in self-image and the belief that our way is the best, and therefore leads us into the trap of believing that we are what we are not. I'm teaching people here how to break other people's false belief patterns. This analogy could be a very good way to start my explanation. So what I would do is I would start with a false belief pattern to kind of start talking about the need to break false belief patterns. I take that analogy, and what I want to do is add a why is this important to it. We've already created a why type framework already here in this tutorial, so I won't do that again. But I'm going to just use that why to fill in this framework. Okay, actually, this is an opportunity to show you how I might lead the AI. So let's start with this because the AI is expecting that part. And then I actually use this. I use this as well. Combination. So you got the analogy and then drop the why next to the analogy, which gives you a very nice introduction to the subsection. And all we do is use that as a framework. So we got a subtitle, analogy, and why it's important. Why this point we're about to cover is important. And we put that into its own framework. And then all we do then is to create 3 examples of that. So I just noticed I forgot about something. I tend to find that in order to make the subtopic type frameworks more relevant, it's important to add the title, the main title of the article, because if you don't, Prososcopy is just going to go give you answers that may not be relevant. So let's adjust that. So the topic that we were following here, how to create a perfect webinar, needs to go with that first example I created, which means then we've got to change this to 2 types, to 2 inputs, a two input type framework. So we've got a bit of an analogy linked with a sub intro to each of the subtopics. What's also good to have an analogy with would be around each of the action steps you're trying to teach people to take. So for example, in this, we've got steps like you can grab attention by describing their pain points in full color. To help people really dive into what it looks like to describe their pain point in full color, language that brings the pain points to life, you might want to use an analogy to kind of elaborate on what that means. So what we would need is a topic to keep the framework relevant to what you're trying to do, a subtopic, and then analogies as well. So in this case, the topic is still how to create perfect webinars. The subtopic is how to grab people's attention quickly. And the point we want to elaborate on is describing their pain points. So we want something that will almost feel like people's pain points, your audience's pain points are like. Okay, so I just call my trusty analogy creator. This is almost like what to do analogy points. So our example has a topic, subtopic, analogy, and then the step all linked together. So this makes it easy for you to just come in, put in the topic and subtopic, and perhaps the point you want to elaborate on in the analogy, and then the framework does the rest and gives you the analogy and gives you the step. So this framework is going to have 3 inputs. So we've created 3 examples for that, and so it should be producing a very good outcome now. So let's test as usual. If we say learning to appreciate little things in life as a topic, and then we want to create an analogy based instruction for this, use the little things in life and see what it comes up with. We may need to lead the AI a little bit. The little things in life are like, they are the small things you notice every day. They are the little things you can use to make yourself happy. Are like tiny seeds that grow and blossom into big trees. Okay. So that's good. The little things in life are like diamonds. They are small but have a big value. They are not just valuable, they are precious and beautiful. I think these are all good. So you get the idea here. That gives you like an analogy, use a way to use analogy to elaborate on your points, which just makes the training more interesting. Next, I'd like to just show you how we would create stories. The point here is that we're not necessarily creating lengthy stories that to entertain. We're trying to use stories to teach concepts, and the kind of stories that teach concepts, they either help people change their belief systems or help to elaborate a point. Because sometimes when you hear a story of someone doing something that you like to do, it suddenly makes it much clearer what the steps are. Okay, so kind of stories that we may want to create. One story would be a story to change belief. Another type would be to elaborate a point. When you're trying to change a person's belief, story must first of all hint on what the belief system is holding initially, and then tell a story of someone who had that belief system, then did something that changed that belief system. As an example, I had a person I was trying to sell an idea to. The idea was you can heal from trauma, but this client did not believe that you can heal from trauma, and it was really adamant that it's impossible. Because if it was possible, all the effort she has put into healing so far should have worked. So to help the client perhaps take on the idea a little bit, so I tell them a story of another client who believed the same thing. They believed they couldn't heal from trauma, and then they went and put the steps into practice, and then they found themselves healing from trauma. If you see what I just did there, what I've done there is use a story here to elaborate this point of how stories can help beliefs. The first step would be to define what the initial issue that they don't believe is. Now, I already have a set of frameworks that does this, but I'm just trying to kind of walk you through how think about creating a framework for this. So what I do not believe in, I also want what I want them to believe, and then story that changes the belief. I mean, if you read a lot of sales letters or you listen to a lot of teachers, they talk about some sort of epiphany. They've been through an experience that gave them an epiphany because they got an outcome. So there was a problem that they had. The problem gave them so much pain and caused them so much problems. That story to initially connect with the reader. And then they came across some solution, whether it was they read a book, they got an advice, they listened to a podcast or watched a video and then tried that idea out and then got the outcome that they want. For some reason, storyline seems to help people move from unbelief to belief a lot easier because it walks people through the journey of change. And it's the same story. You find it in movies, you find it everywhere. Problem, got an advice or got a suggestion from some author or from some role model, applied this to my life, experienced this change. And this is the kind of story that we're trying to create here for changing and beliefs. And again, I said I already have a number of changing belief systems here. If you go to my sales models, yes systems, there is a framework called your creation story. So if you look for your creation story, there's two frameworks there. One is more creative, one gives you more control. So the more creative one, all you just have to do is put in the clientele or the audience, as well as what the issue is or what they're trying to change or what you're trying to get them to believe or what they're struggling with. For example, here you've got a corporate client who's struggling with English language, and this would then create a creation story around that. Which then you can use almost like a parable sometimes, or even as a guide to actually fill in your own story. So there I was, a corporate client who was struggling with English language skills. And the thing is that at the time I was struggling with, which meant I had to find ways to make money to survive. And that meant I had to walk away from a 6-figure income, which forced me to start my life from scratch. Then I by chance I came across something amazing. I had a chance to read some really good books on how to improve my English. Then I started reading more on the topics. Okay, I mean, this just gives you the format. It gives you the storyline. Obviously, you're going to adjust it and refine it. Sometimes I will use it as a parable and talk about the story of Mr. Ben, who went through this experience. So I could even say this is a parable of Mr. Ben who went through this experience, and guide people through this type of problem, this type of solution. And in an ironic way, that also still helps to change people's belief, because it starts to help people to see how that change they're looking for, or what they're trying to achieve, how it's possible. So rather than recreate this one, just for your benefit actually, I'm just going to show you the different sections of this. So who or what is the audience? And then what I've done is just broken down the sections of the story in a way that could be repeatable, so that the AI, when it sees these sections, it knows, okay, this is the kind of content that should be in this section. So the sections were There I Was section. So which kind of starts the story as There I Was, a socially anxious student. And then As If by Chance, something happened to me that helped me to have my epiphany. And then my plan was to, and this describes the plan section. And then after that section opens up the story of the success or change I've experienced, the result of that change. So this becomes something that helps to guide the client or the reader to change their belief and actually see that a solution is possible, so that they can actually give you more time to give them more information as to how you can help them. So that's one form of story. Stories you can tell people to help move people from not believing in what you're saying to being able to believe, actually convincing themselves that what you're saying is true. The other form of stories that I would use in a training material would be a story that sort of describes something and helps people just understand a complex material or a complex subject. So instead of saying something like, the reason we grow old is because, or the reason we age because of stress is because the cells in the body have something called telomeres, which tend to shorten the older the cell gets. And the shorter the telomere in the body, the older the age of the cell. And so if we go through stress too much over time, the telomeres shorten and the cells grow older, and then you start having white hairs and crinkled skin. So that could be one way we explain it. Or we could create a story and say, okay, so imagine old men imagine young men looking strong and muscular, and they're carrying bricks across the road. But all of a sudden, they became old, crickety, and with their backs bent. And now they're still having to carry the same amount of load. And obviously, because they're now older and slower and crickety, everything they're doing is just slower, which then makes the whole body slower. Okay. So in these two situations, we use, it's almost like an analogy, but a story to tell the same idea. And so in your training, using concepts like that will just kind of help to put in a bit of liveliness into the training and make it more interesting. So we could come up with stories like that, where we just imagine the old men, or we could come up with stories about experiences of people that are going through a specific kind of experience that is related to what you're trying to teach. These are things we call parables. Okay, so I have this example that I created more linked with creating emails that are linked with product ideas. So I'm going to steal some of the ideas here. it's actually good to show you how you can use what you already have as examples for new things you're creating. So this is just what I have in this particular framework. This framework is selling a product. And it's trying to connect it with a desire that people have. So how can we change this into something we can use for our training? So our training also has an idea we're trying to sell to the people, and so we can actually borrow some of these. So you got a topic, and then this could be changed to subtopic. And then we could have idea that you are trying to convey. So there's a topic, subtopic, the big idea you want to convey in the subtopic. And in this case, the subtopic is asking, is it possible to stop getting depressed? There's an element of trying to change a belief, but also to teach a concept here. So how does this work in practical life? And then brings a story in, and this is the story, life after pain. So this story starts with a life in pain, depicting someone who is depressed and anxious. Life after pain. I'm looking at this, I'm thinking it's not meaty enough. This might be suitable just for a sales page where you're trying to create curiosity, because this leaves the person thinking, okay, what was the strategy they used exactly? So it's not meaty enough for a training. So I would need to sort of adjust that and put in more to be fitting for a training. So we have a story here just talking about Glenn, how Glenn used the deep breathing mindfulness technique to help himself calm down and distract from negative thinking. Now we could have just said, oh, all you just have to do is to breathe 5 seconds and then breathe in deeply for 5 seconds, breathing out, and then you'll be fine. We could have just said it that way, and it perhaps takes maybe 1 or 2 sentences. But for some strange reason, when you add a teaching point to a story like this, it just feels a lot more engaging and more believable because it's sort of attached to a person. So when we put in stories like this into our training material, it creates more engagement and more vibrance in the training. So we've got here a topic, a subtopic, a big idea you are trying to teach. And this breaks into explaining how it works using a real life story. And we talk about the life in pain, which immediately helps whoever is listening to connect to what you're trying to teach. They can see themselves in that story. And then the solution and how the solution was used. This literally gives them the steps and description of how to go about dealing with the problem. And then the life after pain, which also entices the listener or the reader to follow through with the action that you are describing in the story. And then why this worked, linking it back to our big idea. So this is a very nice format you can use to explain a complex concept and using a story. Okay, so let's just create this here. So we got so just to help me ensure that the framework works properly, I use the framework itself to create the next examples like I've explained before. Yep. I think I've said that so many times now, so hopefully that sort of sticks. So we've got topic, input 1, So with this particular framework, we will need these three elements. We need your topic, subtopic, and big idea. Subtopic. So I'm going to get the framework to help me fill up the rest of this in a way that would help the AI know exactly what I'm looking for, because it's the AI that gave me the responses. One of my own training material using, a subtopic in one of the training materials I'm creating to see whether this is working or whether I need more examples to make it more effective. So this is the big idea I'm trying to illustrate. This is a kind of good big idea. So I allowed closest copy to get the big idea from me. So that was, this is saying creativity and productivity can coexist in your life. They don't have to be mutually exclusive activities. You can be creative and productive if you learn to let go of expectations and instead just have fun. Right. So we have created like a theme now that the AI is going to follow to create a story. Let me see if the story is created. Garrett is a successful marketing consultant. However, he feels a bit lost and unfulfilled by the pace of his life. Garrett decided to make a big change in his life. Instead of spending his time being creative, he decided to spend his time relaxing and having fun. Life after pain. It turns out that Garrett's decision to relax and have fun was actually a huge step forward. Instead of feeling anxious and depressed all the time, Garrett felt happy and engaged, and he also had some of his most creative ideas in years. It's quite good why this worked. But the reason why this worked was because by letting go of the expectation, Garrett was able to let go of his anxiety and depression that was preventing him from being productive. When he stopped working so hard, he suddenly became able to be productive without the worry in the world. Boom! That's just perfect. And in fact, it's so good that I'm going to add it to the examples. But it's telling me that the framework is working and being able to kind of create stories that help to explain concepts and ideas. So we've got three good examples. I hope it won't pass the 5,000 character mark. Then I may not be able to use it. Yep, it worked. Cool. Yes. So now we've got the story, and that story is so good that I'm actually going to use it as part of my training. So we got our story-based example. It's almost like a parable that we've just told to help people understand the concept and actually make it more meaningful in their experience. We've worked on stories that help to change belief as well. And interestingly, as you are doing all of that, telling stories, working on changing belief, what you're also doing is you're giving insider tips and helpful tools and resources, helping the person follow on. So next is we need to kind of create a framework for the conclusion. And in the conclusion, we'll usually have a summary of what we've covered and recap the main benefits they received. And while we're doing this, we want people to go away thinking, wow, that has just been so good. This is going to improve my life. I'm so happy to have come across this, and I really appreciated this author. And then you give them some next steps so that they go away and actually start to put it into action immediately. So what we need to create now is the conclusion section, which will have the summary of what you covered, recap the main benefits, next steps to get results they want, and an assignment to get them going. So this brings us to the final section now. A summary of what you covered. We could do this in a number of ways. We could make the framework create bullet points, just covering the points that we touched on during the training. Or we could create a bit of a blurb of discussion, just summarizing the main points. What I'll do is get the main points down and then put them together in a summary. Maybe figure out how I can make it inspirational, because at the end of the training, we want to inspire people into action. So we're thinking about inspiring. Right, so I'm thinking about how I could make this easy for myself. Once I get to the conclusion, I don't want to have to think too much. So a good way to come up with the beginning portion of the summary would be to just bring the subheadings for each of the subsection of the training and use them just to kind of briefly touch upon what we covered. So my thinking is the framework will have maybe four sections, 4 inputs, and then the framework will then combine the 4 inputs in a way that is inspirational. That's what I'm thinking about doing here. Right, so we've got the 4 subtitles: how to learn to trust yourself, believe in your abilities, and learn to trust yourself and believe in your ability. How to have fun whilst being creative and productive. How to build on your strengths and improve on your weaknesses. How to be resilient to adversity and build on your success. Okay, so we've got that. To make this a bit more inspirational, I might use some of my frameworks that create very enticing bullets. And because it is closest copy giving me the content, it will be easier for the AI to produce the final introduction to the summary. Okay. Okay, so what we've done here is we've taken the subheadings for each section and using the sexy bullets framework, which you can find in the community. I think you should be able to find it in the community. If you can find any of these frameworks I'm using in the community, please just shoot me an email or text, and I will add them. At this stage, I've got so many frameworks, it's going to be a pain to just check for each one to see what's there. Right. Okay. So I've used the sexy bullets to enhance the subheadings. I know when you want to inspire people, all you're just doing is you're taking something that they want and then adding the benefits of achieving the thing that they want to it. So in this case, we've taken these headings: how to learn to trust yourself and believe in your abilities, how to have fun whilst being creative and productive, etc. And then we've turned it into, we've covered how to learn to trust yourself and believe in your abilities and get yourself out of self-destructive negative thoughts and feelings so you can have more confidence and success and fun in life. We then explored how to start having fun whilst being creative and productive so you can feel happy and fulfilled while still being whilst doing. That feels like it's repeating, so I don't want that. And there's a point here: if it becomes too repetitive, the AI will pick on that and give you too many repetitive stuff. So let's change this. And that spell says it very well. I reveal the best ways to build on your strengths and improve your weaknesses. If you want to boost your performance in everything you do in life, in relationship and in work, the secret gives you the most effective way to achieve improved and balanced strength. And finally, we uncovered the secret of resilience. How to be resilient to adversity and build on your success. This way you know how to bounce back from setbacks, failures and disappointments and grow stronger regardless of problems in life. So I've purposefully gone through that to make sure it speaks clearly, it's not repetitive, it's full of emotions that can make a person feel like, yes, this is great, I want to go and start on what you've given me here. So this is going to be, so we have done the summary, which also has recapped the benefits of the training. Next, we need to give some sort of next steps and an immediate assignment to get them in action. Okay, so with this one, I have to think about how I would go make sure that the AI is giving me something relevant in terms of next steps and action steps for people to take. And to do that, I'm going to keep the subtitles. So use the same subtitles and perhaps also use the headline. I'm thinking of tying this together into one. So next steps is almost like giving them assignments as well. So what could be a good next steps from this? You've taught them how to learn to trust themselves and believe in their abilities. You've taught them how to have fun while being creative. You taught them how to build on their strengths and improve on their weaknesses. And you taught them how to be resilient in the face of adversity. So what I would like the AI to do for me at this stage would be to give me a number of options. So it's like helping me to brainstorm next step ideas. So what I could do is to just give the AI a number of next steps. Actually, I'm thinking rather than put this out separately, since it's using similar subtitles and headlines here, perhaps we could include this with the summary and just have the one summary in one go, as opposed to separating the steps like this. That will make it easier, won't it? So what I've done then is to combine these next steps into the previous framework we did, which is the intro to summary. And rather than having an intro to summary, we're going to be having a full summary, which combines all those elements together. So it gives us the summary, the subtitles. We put in the subtitles. It gives us the summary of the subtitles, and then gives us some next steps. Brainstorms that for us so that we can start to. So I'm just checking to make sure that I'm not using similar phrases, just so that it could do a better brainstorming for next steps. And all I have to do is choose and pick what works for me for the training material I just delivered. Cool. And so that's how we've created this set of frameworks that will help you that will help you develop a training material for any niche, really. So you're looking at we've created the intro, we've created the summary of what we're going to learn. We've used analogies to break down the subtitles into content. We've created what to do content, and we've created stories where we've used stories that help people to change beliefs, instructional steps using analogy, and explanations, complex explanation using parable type stories, parable stroke story based explanation, and then we have a summary. And so all I have to do now when I want to create any training material, I just come into this set of frameworks. I'm going to put them into the workflows as well, because I think sometimes it's easier to just go step 1, step 2, step 3 with the workflows. So if anybody would, my suggestion, this is my advice would be that you go ahead following the steps I've showed you in this video and create your own frameworks for similar areas. Why would I say that? Because you might still find that my frameworks are a bit limited for what you want. And so creating frameworks that suit exactly what you want and that what the image of what you have in mind, the imagination you have, will give you outcomes that are better suited to yours. Otherwise, you could just go into the community. I've made all these frameworks available for free. It's all free, isn't it? I've made it available in the community, so you can use them. If you have any questions, if you run into any problems, and you need some clarity in any way, just drop me an email or message me on Facebook. I'm going to be updating the PDF, my book of frameworks. So if you're interested in having that as well, also just drop me an email and I will add you to the email list. If you've enjoyed this and you found it useful, please like and subscribe, support my channel, help my channel to grow, and spread the message. Spread the message to people, help people who are into copywriting, email writing, to see that Closest Copy is really a dream come true when it comes to developing anything to support you to write. So, have a good day and God bless.